When people in the Midlands want to talk, they talk to Will Faulkner.
Okay, here we go. Uncle Gaybo for president. Really? Well, that's if somebody can convince him that the mass of Irish people are clamouring for Gay to be president. At 77, is he too old to be president of Ireland? Well, let's compare him to some other heads of state in the EU. King Harold in Norway is 74, so not too much distance there. Pope Benedict is 84. Queen Elizabeth II is 85. The Italian president is 86. So certainly on those scores, Gaybo is well in with a shout. Louis Walsh says he has the X factor, whereas George Hook wonders if any broadcaster is qualified to be president. And the man himself, as I said, is waiting to see whether you clamour for him to be in the Áras. So while Fine Gael and Labour have selected their candidates, could Gaybo be the choice for the opposition? Well, Lee Shoffley, Fianna Fáil TD Sean Fleming is with us. Sean, you're very welcome to the programme.
Good morning, Will.
Why do you think Gaybo would be a good choice?
Well, I, like everyone else, heard that story on Friday. I think some phone-in radio shows suggested his name. And all I know is everyone I've spoken to here locally since over the weekend thinks he'd be an excellent choice. I think people like him, have a high esteem in him, know him over the years, feel he would be a very good ambassador. He carries himself exceptionally well. And apart from being well known as a broadcaster, he's also currently the chairman of the Road Safety Authority in the last few years. And we've seen a major reduction in road deaths, partly because of the good work that he and the people in that organisation have done, driving home the message of road safety. So he is a good public servant, as well as being a well-known broadcaster and a person that people would like.
I felt that when the Queen was here, if you recall the entertainment event, I think she was actually the host, technically, of it, and Gaybo was the presenter there. He was very eloquent. He greeted Her Majesty very well. Certainly his credentials in that regard are sound. But what about the age? Yeah. Surely at 77, is he not a bit past it?
No, and I wouldn't like to tell many an active 77-year-old that are past it. What I will say is I actually think you answered the question in your opening introduction yourself. I think everybody in Ireland, regardless of their views of the Queen, felt she was excellent when she was here for the few days performing her official duties, and she's almost 10 years older than Gay Byrne is. So if somebody wants, you don't have to go too far to find a head of state of a very senior age who can perform their functions excellently on behalf of their country, and when they visit foreign and other countries, do a very good job as well. And I think that's living proof that age doesn't really matter. I think that it's not the busiest role. You don't have to be up at 9 o'clock and in government buildings every morning. You can do a number of events each week. And I know Gay Byrne is out walking every day. He's a very active person, and I think generally, I don't think his age will come against him at all.
But it is demanding nonetheless. Fair enough, you don't have to be in government buildings at unearthly hours, but if you take, for instance, King Harold in Norway, he was born into it. Queen Elizabeth was born into it. Pope Benedict, it's a vocation. Why would Gay Byrne want to take that on at 77 years of age?
I think that is really the question now. I actually think if Gay did let his name go forward, he would get tremendous support, and I think he would be elected. The question is, does Gaybo, at this hour of his life, want to take on the new challenge? You know, him and his wife Kathleen comes into the consideration as well from their own point of view. Do they want to take on this public role at this hour of their life? He's been used to being in the public role. He can't walk on any street in Ireland without people knowing him. So from that point of view, you know, that won't be a new issue for him. But as you say, the amount of work and tasks he has to take on is something only he can decide. And all I'm saying is if he did put his name forward, I think he will get good support, but it will be a decision for himself to make over the coming weeks.
Let's focus on the technical side of it for a moment. If he was interested, how would it progress from here?
Well, the first thing I will say is in the Dáil at the moment, there are well over 50 TDs in the opposition who haven't been a part of nominating anybody at all to date. Well, some of them did nominate David Norris, but that's now over. and there are 20 to 30 senators who haven't been involved in nominating anyone. So there's a range of 70 to 80 members of the Oireachtas, any 20 of whom could nominate him. So I'm not suggesting he'd be a Fianna Fáil nominee. I'm suggesting that Fianna Fáil could be part of the process to help him get his name in the ballot paper, but it wouldn't be 20 members of the Fianna Fáil party would nominate him. I don't think that would be good, because that would be party politicised in the race. And I actually think the mood of the public, they would like to see a non-party politician in the race and being the next president. At this moment, I think we've had a lot of intense politics in the last couple of years, and I think people would like to see somebody from outside the traditional party politics being in the party.
So can we take that as a clear signal that Fianna Fáil won't put forward a candidate of its own?
No, you can't. We haven't decided yet, and Gay Byrne hasn't decided. And I'm speaking personally, because obviously I haven't spoken to many of my colleagues over the weekend since this story broke, but I do believe if Gay was a candidate, I don't think Fianna Fáil would be running any candidate against Gay Byrne, because we would want to ensure that he would get a good support from the people. If he is not in the field, we will have our decision to make in the coming weeks as well. But we do have until mid-September. It was the second week of September the last time when Mary McAleese was nominated, and a 6-week campaign is, a good long campaign for most campaigns, and there is time up until well into early September for actual decisions to be made about who's actually going to be nominated.
If Gaybo was to go forward and Fianna Fáil was to support him in terms of getting the nomination, would there be a financial aspect to it as well? Because it will be a costly campaign as an independent.
I would not think so, and I'm stressing, I would not think it would be right that if there was a broad base of people supporting Gay Byrne, that one party should take over the calling of the shots of the financing of the campaign and raising the funds. And I would believe if he is being nominated by over 20 members of the Oireachtas, you will get cross-party community and public support. And the campaign wouldn't have to be that excessively expensive compared to general election. It is only one candidate. It would be only 6 weeks. A lot of it will be in the media, and certainly there will be some travelling around the country, but it doesn't have to be. I don't think people need to see a lot of posters of Gay Byrne on telegraph poles around the country to know what he looks like. So I actually think from that point of view, he's already very well established, and I don't think the money would be the major issue in the campaign at all.
Fianna Fáil TD Sean Fleming, thank you very much for taking our call this morning.
Thank you.
Now, what do you think? 0818 300 103 is our telephone number. Gay for president? Could it happen? And would you like to see him in the Áras? Or is it a case that when we look at the candidates in the field already, Sean Gallagher, Mary Davis, Gay Mitchell and Michael D. Higgins, that people are simply not taken with any of them and want to see who else is interested, no matter who they are? So I'm curious if this is a case of people saying anybody but those four, and Gay Byrne happens to be one of the more recognisable faces. Yeah, he has the credentials. He certainly is eloquent. He is well recognised. He is very, very articulate. He has an energy, even at 77, that is rare. You can certainly see that through his road safety work. And he is familiar as well to a lot of the movers and shakers. So he could easily get on the ballot paper. But he can be a polarising figure as well. Some people absolutely love Gay Byrne. I would be in that camp, by the way. I think he's the best broadcaster the country has ever produced. But there are others to whom he has been maybe overexposed, or they just didn't warm to his style, or maybe there's a generational gap. I'm not sure what it is. So I'm not sure if he would be a certainty if he appeared on the ticket, and maybe that's one source of his reluctance. He wants to see before he puts his name forward whether he's likely to win, because nobody really wants to lose in that race, but especially somebody like him who doesn't need to do it in the first place. 0818 300 103 is our telephone number. Now, do you want a little laugh? Just a slight snippet of the man himself. Here he is preparing a recipe.
Without further ado, I'm going to give you the recipe for this fruitcake, the special Christmas fruitcake recipe, which we've been asked to give you once again. First of all, the ingredients is 1 cup of water, 1 cup of sugar, 4 large eggs, 2 cups of dried fruit, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 cup of brown sugar, 8 ounces of nuts, and the juice of 1 lemon, plus 1 bottle of whiskey. That's very important. So a cup of water, a cup of sugar, 4 large eggs, 2 cups of dried fruit, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 cup of brown sugar, 8 ounces of nuts, the juice of 1 lemon, and 1 bottle of whiskey.
You're writing that down?
And this is what you do with it. You first of all sample the whiskey. That's the first thing you do. You have to do that to start off. Sample the whiskey to check for quality in case there would be anything wrong with it, because you only want the best quality whiskey to go in to this particular cake. The whole cake depends on its flavour for the quality of the whiskey. So check the whiskey straight away. Then you take a large bowl and check the whiskey again, just to make sure in your own mind that the whiskey is all right and it's not going. It could go off as soon as you take the cork out of the bottle and open the top. It could go off. So check the whiskey again to be sure that it's of the highest quality. The way to do that, by the way, you pour 1 level cup full neat and drink it, and then to be doubly sure, do that again. One level cup and drink it. That's the second cup. Now, you turn on the electric mixer and you beat 1 cup of butter in a large fluffy bowl. Then you add 1 teaspoon of sugar and you beat all that up again. Now, while you do it, make sure the whiskey is still okay. Have another level cup of whiskey. Make sure it's still okay. Try another cup.
Great.
And then you turn off the mixer, and then you break 2 eggs and you add them to the bowl and you chuck in the dried fruit. Know yourself. And then mix all that on this turner. And then check the whiskey again before it gets too late. Check. You have to keep on check the whiskey. Because it might go. No. Right, where was it? Yeah, right, now. If the fried fruit gets stuck in the beaters, you pry it loose. Pry it loose with a juice scraper. You see, and the easy way to do it. Don't be worried about it. Then you sample the whiskey again to check for consistency. Now, you sift 2 cups of salt, or something. Who cares? Check the whiskey. That's the important thing. Now, you sift the lemon juice and you strain your nuts. Don't forget. And after that, then you add 1 table spoon of sugar or something, whatever you can find. Sugar in the whole thing. Then you turn round, if you're able to turn round, and you grease the oven. So don't forget to grease. And turn the cake tin to 250 degrees. Hold steady now. Turn the cake tin to 350. Yeah. Don't forget to beat off the turner. And then you throw the bowl out the window. Check the whiskey again. And go to bed.
That is Gay Byrne at his finest. Whiskey being an important constituent in that recipe. Well, Pat Kenny would be a great president, suggests Sean. Jeanette says Gay Byrne is too old. What do we need a new president for, even at that? Age is a form of discrimination, says Pat. It certainly is. The difference, I suppose, here is that Gay Byrne is more than 10 years past the retirement age. And what we're talking about is the office of president, which is fairly demanding and it has a rigorous schedule, albeit maybe not the most demanding of offices in the state. But Gay Byrne is 77 now, so at the end of term 1, assuming he's elected, he will be 84, and if he goes on for a second term, he would be 91. And at that stage, if he's alive, and touch wood and whatever, how much vigour would he be able to bring to the role? And I think that's why people are questioning whether a 77-year-old has what it takes to go for the office. Ray says Gay Byrne is full of it. Surely he has enough money without taking the role of president. Well, there's another interesting point, because Gay's finances over the years have been turbulent. There was the famous case back in the 1980s when his accountant managed to decimate Gay's personal savings. But more recently, he invested in Anglo-Irish Bank, and he had shares there, and we all know what happened to the shareholders. Not the bondholders, but the shareholders. He certainly took a hit there. And as far as we know, he was also involved in property investments, along with some RTE colleagues such as Pat Kenny, and those investments have not gone very well. So in terms of money, he wouldn't be the wealthiest man in the country. Now, I'm sure he can still loan you a fiver, but he wouldn't be averse to making more money, shall we say. So are you clamouring for Gay Byrne to be President of Ireland? Well, 083 30 10 103 is our text line. Mag suggests that if he was to become president, it would set up an interesting meeting with Gerry Adams, wouldn't it? When you remember back in the Late Late Show days, Gay refused to shake the hand of Gerry Adams, although apparently he was under orders from RTE management not to do it. I'm not sure whether it reflected his personal views. Anyway, let's take some calls on this. Kieran, good morning.
Good morning, Will. How are things?
Very well, thank you. You think Gay and Kathleen would look well in the park?
I think Gay and Kathleen would look very well in the park, and they'd represent the country very well.
Why?
At this stage, I must admit, I wrote as well on Facebook this morning, I was very disappointed when David Norris was sort of forced out of the campaign, because he was a bit controversial, but he wasn't somebody who could be ordered around. I also feel that Gay Byrne speaks his own mind. And
did you get the impression, by the way, Kieran, that somebody or some institution or someone anyway didn't want David Norris in the race, and that it was a concerted effort to get him out of it?
Yeah, I always felt that it was a concerted effort. No matter what would actually come up, they'd go against him just to get rid of him.
So I take it then you're not enamoured with the other four in the field at the moment? So
far, the other four in the field, Gay Mitchell, the chap in Galway,
Michael D,
they don't inspire me. They don't even to watch them, they don't do anything. To me, they're not inspiring. That's just my own personal opinion. The chap that's in the Dragon's Den would be the only one that would be, I actually said the other day, I'd even vote for him.
Sean Gallagher.
But if Gaybo was on it, I would vote for Gaybo in the morning. I think he'd make a fabulous president. I think he'd be a fabulous representative for Ireland on the world stage and across Europe.
OK, so on his own merits you think he can do it? It's not a case of anybody but those four?
If it's on the case, yeah. But I just feel at this stage we need somebody who represents Ireland well, is well known, and Gay Byrne is well known. He's well known here as well, and he's a good representative for the people, and he has always been for the people. And maybe it's a case that in the Phoenix Park now we have somebody who represents the people. Mary McAleese has done a very good job over the last number of years.
Indeed.
And she was down here in Port Ireton, and she was very inspiring. I think Gay Byrne could follow in her steps very, very well.
I would agree with all of that. The only reservation I would have is the age. I think if this was 2004 and Mary McAleese had not sought a second term and Gay was contesting it, fine. But would you not be nervous at 77 as to whether he has the energy for it?
Well, let's put it this way. There's an awful lot of people at 77 and they put an awful lot of younger people to shame in what they can get up and what they can do.
True.
And Gay Byrne might be 77, but at the moment he still hosts a programme on TV every so often. He's often on Radio 1. He's involved in the Road Safety Authority. He's out there doing things.
Yeah, he's a lot busier than the average 77-year-old, that's for sure.
The average 77-year-old. And I don't think age at this stage really comes into it. And I think he is a very active individual and he comes across that way. The way it is, it doesn't matter. Age doesn't come into it. He's going to be a representative to represent Ireland on a world stage. Look at it this way. We had Queen Elizabeth here a while ago, and people thought it was a great visit, and she's 85.
She's 85. Pope Benedict is 84. The Italian president is 86.
Yeah, so
Gay would be young by comparison.
Age doesn't come into it, I don't think.
So would he win?
I think he would, because I think people are so disillusioned with the way things are going on, and I've spoken to a number of people, and they were so disillusioned over what happened to David Norris, as they said they would have voted for him anyway. I think people are fed up with the establishment, the political establishment, and they're looking for something different, and I think Gay Byrne could be the answer.
Kieran, thanks for the call.
OK, well, thanks a million. Bye.
God bless. Let's head to Kinnegad. Jeanette, good morning.
Good morning, Will.
Well, Jeanette, how do you feel about Gaybo?
He's too old for the job.
And what
Definitely
about Kieran's argument there that you're never too old?
Well, I know, but like it takes a lot of energy, as you said already, and there's far younger people that should do an equally good job, or maybe a better job.
Anybody in mind?
No, I personally think that we should keep Mary McAleese for another term.
Yes,
she did a great job, and why put the country to the expense of another election?
I mean, you see, herein lies the problem. As far as I know, you would have to change the constitution to allow her seek a third term. That in itself will involve a referendum, so you've either the expense of an election.
Would it cost as much? Would it cost as much as an election for another president?
It would be thereabouts the same. In fact, more, you'd have to set up a referendum commission as well, and it would be. You wouldn't have much change out of either. I'll put it to you that way. Right.
Well, I'd say if they put it to the people without much cost, people would say keep what we have. We cannot afford another election.
Would Gay Byrne, though, given his profile, given how well spoken he is, given how popular he is,
yes,
not be as good a choice as Mary McAleese for another 7 years?
He would if he was 20 years younger. I definitely think at 77 years of age, he shouldn't even think about running for such a job.
I can't understand why he is. I can understand why people would want him to, but he himself, I can't see what he has to gain from this.
I know. I definitely think he has a lot of things going on as he is. Why not just relax as he is and do what he's doing and forget about the presidency?
Well, the way he put it to Claire Byrne at the weekend was that if he saw that the mass of Irish people was clamouring for him to do it, then he would have to consider it. So he's not definitely in the race, but
yes,
he's waiting to see if there is an appetite and a groundswell of opinion that he should do it. And if there is, that just might persuade him. Do you think there is that groundswell of opinion?
He was very good on the late. I'm a fan of Gay Byrne, definitely. But I think the presidency is, you have to be young and energetic and travelling here, there and everywhere. I certainly think at 77 he is too old for it.